There it is. Episode 12.
12.
I feel like I should say we're back or something because it's been a couple weeks since we've recorded.
Oh, at least it's been a long time.
Yeah. Feels good to be back though, right?
Oh my God.
It's now winter. We went from summer to winter.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, here in Minnesota, it's definitely not green anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's been below freezing a couple of nights.
Yep. Had to bust out the big coat finally.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That looks sharp. You were back in winter form coming through the door today.
I don't know if I'm happy about it, but we're there.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of the seasons progressing,
Yes,
we're going to talk about progress today.
we are.
We are.
But first, I'm Adam,
Oh, I'm Steve.
and this is Whiteboard Sessions Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yes.
All right, so everybody knows the rules. One of us has a topic. The other one doesn't know what it is. What you get is real, authentic kind of banter, feedback, all that good stuff. So
yeah, should we tell them that some of the past podcasts have been 30, 60, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
And so we've had some awesome feedback from people
Yeah.
just saying, look, if you could make it in more bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
So, look for this to be shorter so that if you're commuting or sitting at your desk or trying to take a nap or whatever.
yeah, exactly. You get the full shebang all in one.
Yeah.
and
So we're going to talk about progress today.
Progress. Okay.
Progress.
Yep.
Happiness.
Okay. Here we go.
Happiness. And the third area is comfort zones.
Okay.
So which one of them has been talked about far too much?
Well, comfort zone sounds like the one that would be a little maybe cliche is a word, or maybe like
People love talking about comfort zones, and I think that most people know that comfort zones are it's a good thing to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
We like to get kind of blunt and candid about comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
We like to say that if you're in your comfort zone, it's kind of like the lights are on but nobody's home.
Yes.
You're on autopilot. You're not thinking about stuff. You're doing stuff that's comfortable, familiar. You're just doing your thing without thinking.
You're kind of in that groove.
Right.
Blinders on a little bit.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Yep.
Time to get out of the house.
Well, get out of the house. Yep. So the way that the comfort zones are relating to progress and happiness is that progress equals happiness. If you are making progress in your life with professional things, with relationships, with money, with your career, if you're making progress on that, odds are you have a good level of happiness. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have no idea where to go after this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's so, when you think about progress versus happiness, I think when people are in that comfort zone, they might think they're happy, right? Because it's comfortable. People love comfort, right? Nobody sits in their house and they put their thermostat to 49 to see how long they can take it, you know what I mean? Or up to, 95, like we're going towards a sauna. That people like to be comfortable, right?
Yeah.
But when you get out, you make changes, right? We could relate it to a past podcast, the Great Resignation and discontent, right? A lot of people were comfortable in their jobs, and then all of a sudden when, they got out of the house and they realized, oh, there's more to, life than just what I'm in, my priorities are starting to change a little bit. There's progress there, and they realize what they want, and they get out of the house, the lights come on, and they realize what actually makes them happy. Right. Yeah. So
one of the other things as it relates to progress that I think it helps to differentiate is that sometimes we can compare progress to results. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people think, well, if I get the result, it's when I hit the result that I'll be happy.
Yeah.
When there's a big difference between the outcome and progress. You can make progress without hitting the outcome. Over the years, I have 4 kids. The youngest is still at home. Ellen, she's 14, she's in 8th grade. And so just in the last couple of years, she beats herself up and says, I worked really hard, or I studied really hard, and I didn't get the grade that I want. And I've said to her, and this is not my line, I think a lot of people have said this, that hard work is its own reward.
Yeah. Yep.
That no matter what the result is, when you're making your best effort, when you're out of your comfort zone, when you're pushing your limits, there is something satisfying and fulfilling about making your best effort in spite of the fact that you may or may not hit the desired outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think half of the thing too that you have to look at is along that way to get to your best effort to, you're studying, for example, for Ellen maybe, and even though you might not get your desired outcome, you still are at a place that you weren't at before you started studying. Right. You still learned some things. You made that progress. It might not have been the whole way, but it's there. The old cliche, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land about in the stars, right? Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
You still made the progress. You're still a different person. You're still evolving. Just like businesses too, like they need to progress. They need to evolve.
Right. So keeping this real, because part of this podcast is sharing content that we think is important to people. Another part of it is helping people understand that it's not just theoretical stuff. Mm-hmm. When we are in the comfort zone, there are a lot of patterns that are established there, thought patterns, activity patterns, things that we do day in and day out, and keeping it very real. In the last, let's just say 12 months, almost a little less than that, you and I individually and collectively have gotten out of our comfort zones.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are patterns. I mean, you were working in an industry where you had been for almost a decade.
Yeah. Yep.
And made the decision, the challenging decision, quite frankly, to break the patterns, that mindset, that thinking of being there and doing things that way to doing something brand new. And you and I have had a couple of conversations, and I'm being very serious right now, where I've asked you in the last week or so, how you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And what's been your response?
Yeah, it's been the best decision I ever made. Yeah. Absolutely. There was a level of comfort that almost stopped me from making that move just because that's where I was comfortable. Yeah. I thought I was happy. I thought, people just love to be comfortable.
Right.
And then now that you're on the other side of it, and I have friends who just did the same thing too. And if you can't tell yet, obviously I was part of the great resignation and discontent. And so, on being on the other side of it, especially if you're watching and wondering like, oh my gosh, should I leave my job? Should I, or whatever the change may be in your life, relationship, job, anything, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I urge you to get out of your comfort zone and try it, because everyone that I've talked to that have done it, obviously a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of times it does. And it's great on the other side. Yep. And I love what I do now. It doesn't mean there's not lulls, or it doesn't mean I don't catch myself getting into new patterns or new comfort zones, but it's different. And
you can change the scenery, you can change your situation and your environment, but sometimes those old patterns, that comfort zone, will creep back in. And so as we break this down, when the business got started in 1999, 2000, at the time we had a tagline that said, knowledge is important, execution is essential. Not the execution of taking someone's life, but actually doing something with what you know. And so part of this podcast today is, number one, to break that down, to say, it starts with comfort zone. And you may think, as you've said a couple of times, that we're happiest, or happiness is in the comfort zone. Nope. Maybe once you get there for a period of time, but happiness is making progress. Progress is about getting out of your comfort zone and breaking patterns. And so what you can do just listening to this podcast is, when you think, if I'm in my comfort zone and I'm not happy, I have to make changes to be happy. The focus isn't about your happiness. Mm-hmm. Based on our conversation today, the focus is, what are those patterns that are so instilled in your everyday that you're not thinking, you're not engaged, you're not fulfilled, you're not content. You're just doing the same stuff every day, thinking that routine is going to make you happy, when what you really need to do is say, I need to break some of these patterns and try something different.
Exactly. And part of that too with businesses is that evolution. Yes. Breaking those patterns, evolving your business. Because I think a lot of people too, they realize that even going through the pandemic this past year, all these comfort zones, all these things that they thought had to happen or was the right way, they got surprised, and they were forced to evolve, forced to get out of their comfort zone, forced to operate with new parameters, right? Yeah. Remote working, or, the whole Zoom and Teams and that whole approach. So as a business, as we wrap up this podcast, told you we're getting shorter.
Yeah.
What are the comfort zones that you think that maybe you don't want to face direct on? You're like, but I like that. There's that aspect too. What are the things that you can look at? Or maybe you need a third party to look at them and help you with that, to really realize, what are my comfort zones? Where can I break those up? Where can I progress? Where can I evolve? And ultimately to be a better business, have better relationships, have better communication, more commitment, Yep.
No, I think you're bringing this to a close with two key things. In this business, we talk a lot about relationships, the quality of life being many times determined by the quality of the relationships, the quality of people in our life. And sometimes, let's face it, a lot of relationships, our closest relationships, get into patterns, and we think that it's comfortable, and sometimes it's hard to break out. But to open up a conversation with whoever you're in relationships with, personally or professionally and say, look, I feel like we're in a bit of a routine. There's some patterns that we could enhance, improve, or innovate to make this better, to re-engage us in the relationship. And then the second thing I think that you hit on, which is very important and very relevant, is that we're working with a lot of people right now, some new clients as a result of some of these podcasts that have rattled our cage a little bit. And as people head back to the office, there's a comfort zone for many people working at home, leaving the camera off.
Yeah.
Where people are more comfortable not being seen, when not that long ago, we were seen every day in the office. And so again, just trying to keep this very real and relevant as the world gets back into whatever the new gear is going to look at. Make sure that you understand that one way or another, we're out of our comfort zone. We can choose those patterns that we want to break when we want to make them and get out of our comfort zone by our own free will, or sometimes somebody kicks our ass out of the comfort zone. Somebody breaks our pattern and says, this is what you're going to do. Yep. We have the choice to make those decisions and be proactive, or wait until the moment where we absolutely have to be reactive.
Exactly. Yep. And just to kind of springboard off that too, a last little tidbit of advice. Next time you're in a Zoom meeting, turn your camera on and then ask somebody something totally not work related. Ask them how their day has been, how their weekend was, but not surface level, because everybody kind of, how's your day? Cool. Okay. Now into work. Get a little deeper. Spend 5-10 minutes at the beginning of your Teams meeting, your Zooms meeting, and, just ask them something.
And what you're really saying, not that we think our audience is going to miss the point, but you're encouraging people to get out of your comfort zone and ask questions that you wouldn't necessarily ask, and break the pattern of the traditional conversations that we do with people before meetings.
Exactly. Amen.
Amen.
Episode 12.
You got it in the books.
There it is.
Yeah. Thanks.
Catch you next time.
See ya.